Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. We are back with you once again. Episode 84. We're smashing through these episodes, and it's a pleasure to have you all with us on a slightly earlier and a slightly unusual day of the week, but Tuesday, 7 p.m. Thank you for joining us. It's hugely appreciated.
Yeah, all day.
Honest to God, it's do my head in. I don't know what day it is.
I know what it is.
Let me write it down. Tuesday. Right, there we go. That's better. Thank you.
Hope you all had a fantastic Easter weekend, and hopefully that was boosted that little bit by Wanderers' impressive 5-2 win at Reading, against Reading yesterday. And so, good evening to you all in the chat. But without further ado, we will get stuck into our post-match reactions. So, of course, it was an impressive display from Ian Everett's men in what was a very much needed, I think, 5-2 win against Reading.
Not thinking about it, Benji. It was very needed, my friend.
It was absolutely required.
We were gagging for it.
Absolutely.
Wet through in the end, weren't we? We were wet through in the end.
Yeah. This episode rightly called Super Soaker Whites. Was one hell of a display. Get in the chat your one-word reviews. We would like your one-word reviews for the podcast. Get them in the comments and we'll pick some out as we go through. But first, Ange, we'll hand over to you. Give us your breakdown of the performance. What was right? What went wrong? Is there anything to improve on? What are you feeling?
It were a complete 360 on Fridays, weren't it?
It was.
So everything they didn't manage to do, they fought really hard. They played for each other. They looked united. A couple of tiny defensive errors, you could say, to work on possibly on the training pitch. But all in all, that's what we needed. That's what the response that we wanted from that. And whether that be the reference to water pistols or not, I don't care because whatever they've worked on or whatever they've talked about, or like Ian said about, he felt like they had the foot on the brake a bit when we were at Stevenage, but they absolutely played with freedom, and it was a joy to watch. I had a right good day.
Right, good day. I think that sums it up perfectly. Chris, in terms of the goal scoring, obviously I think we've said it before. I think the last time I remember saying it to you was against Wigan. It seems almost impressive, however frustrating it might be, to go from games scoring 5 goals to no goals, to 5 goals to no goals, to 2 goals. What do you think is the biggest hindrance for that being a consistent? I mean,
Pitches, isn't it? Pitches. Yeah. I've noticed it.
I didn't even think of that.
It might be, it might be a small thing, but I guess from if you're looking at marginal gains and little benefits that when we go away, that these smaller clubs, with due respect, can sort of take from it is. And I've noticed it. I noticed it at Exeter. I noticed it at Stevenage. Noticed it at Northampton. That the pitches, obviously, we always talk about our expansive way of playing, long diagonal balls, tight pitches, making that difficult. But I think as well, if you look at the surfaces that I've just mentioned of those pitches where we've recently played away, they're a lot lusher. I've commented before. It looks like it could do a good cut in that. You know what I mean? there's maybe half a centimetre length on the turf. If you notice it on Friday at Stevenage, a lot of our players kept losing the footing. Obviously, they go out before the game and they test the stud length and whether they play with blades or a certain stud length or whatever it might be. We won't get too boring, but it's these little kind of marginal gains that a lot of smaller clubs will utilise to get an advantage. It stops us playing our game. It stops us, putting the ball on the deck and moving it quickly like we were doing yesterday. I mean, you watched some of that yesterday. It was similar to Oxford at home in the sense that, some of the football was just scintillating. I think there was one where the last sort of phase was Paris having a shot blocked. And I described it as erotic football. It was.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Honestly, God, it was like, what is that? League One, seriously. And I know we go highs and lows, but as a passage of play, it was just sublime. It was ridiculous. And you can't play that on longer pitches. And it's these little hindrances, as well as a smaller pitch, tighter pitch, so I think that has a big, it has a lot to say, and it has a lot of impact on how we play.
Indeed, it does. Those marginal gains.
Can I just say, I don't want. I just hope that after yesterday, as I say, I've just drawn a comparison to Oxford. I just hope that it's not a false dawn and we can kick on now, because I'd hope that we would do after Oxford, and we really didn't. So yesterday is really impressive, but it's only impressive if we go down to Bristol Rovers on Saturday and seize the momentum and kick on for these last 4 games.
Absolutely.
That's unknowingly a wonderful segment into my question for you, Carl. What needs to happen now for Bristol? What needs to... are there any changes that need to be made, do you think, in terms of even personnel, tactically? What do you think needs to happen now heading into Bristol? Or is it just a case of same as last game, business as usual?
£5 fine, that call, you're on mute.
Whoa, sorry. Doesn't happen very often, that, does it? I usually
can't 4 years of teams. 4 years of teams meetings.
I know, yeah. I usually can't wait to speak, can I?
What you need to do, Colin, head over to our Just Giving page and put £5 into the Tough Sleep pot.
All right. There's a good explanation why I did that, if I'm being honest. I'm having a brew, and I didn't want to slurp down the mic because I thought it was rude. So that's the reason why I was on mute. Sorry. Right. So obviously Jack Idale went off injured, didn't he? So there might be an enforced change at left-sided centre half for the game against Bristol Rovers. Possibly Cramp. Yeah.
So
possibly Cramp.
It was Cramp. He's clear by all accounts, which is
in
great.
the know, Chris. You in the know?
We're not that podcast, Angela.
No. All right, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be any changes to a winning side. They won rather impressively yesterday. I mean, what I would say, I know Chris has been talking about our erotic football and the way we were playing yesterday. One noticeable thing from me was how we didn't just play our usual liquid football, as I like to call it. We were quite, when necessary and when needed, we were quite direct. I watched the game back from yesterday, sorry, and I noticed that we were quite direct from time to time. You might have noticed that there was a chance when Collins in the first half nearly scored from Bodvarsson flicking it on and a bit of a mistake in the back line. And that came from a direct ball. Obviously, Josh Declan-Cogley played a beautiful ball down the right flank that allowed us to win that penalty. But also as well, I'd noticed that Santos played a great ball as well in behind the channel, into the channel for the Collins goal, so our 4th goal, so his hat trick. So it wasn't just the lovely fluid football that we were used to. We were quite direct at times yesterday, which was quite nice to see. And obviously, I think the reason for that was the Reading had made a note here, quite a good team offensively. we'll speak about them defensively in a minute, but offensively we were really good, and especially in transition. So obviously by going long, you're cutting out that cutting them out of the probably the best way they play the game, really. So yeah, it was good to see. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed it. It wasn't just our normal way of playing, shall we say.
Just in terms of that long ball, perhaps
Long
direct passing into the channels, it's something that I think we've tried numerous occasions, and I think it's often mistaken for playing up to the opposition. Sometimes it can get misstrued, but I think that if you look at the way we play as a whole, it all is orchestrated from Santos, and it's that you bait the press, you bait the team onto you, and then you hit them either around the sides or into the channels. And when it works perfectly. And when you've got players that can get on the end of the balls or play them in the first place, it works really, really well. It's just
I think we are very comfortable at home, aren't we? And our home record this season, clearly indicates that. But I mean, we're not
Thank
too bad
God.
away. We're not. Yeah. No, but I was going to say we're not too bad away from home either, are we? Because we are still third. We are third in the league, so we can't be that bad away from home if we're honest about it.
Channel 72. Some of you may know, some of you may not. But 6 out of 6. Dare I see you in May?
That's Jake. That's Jake from T-Lock for people who aren't in the know on that front. I don't. Who does he support again?
Don't know.
Oh dear, he's not going to be coming on the podcast.
Is it Peterborough? It's round that way, isn't it?
Yeah, that neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's down
I think
way,
they were. I think they were a conference team a couple of years ago, if I remember rightly. Is it?
Make sure you tell him how many's on the platform, Colin.
Well, that's not my piece this week, is it? But I will be saying it next time. Next time I get the
chance. For those of you who don't know, T-Lop is an incredible podcast. Go and check out that League One podcast. They have some great content over there. All of those boys are absolutely legendary. So go and have a listen.
Big Malk. Big Malk's put a shout on that, and I really want to jump on that.
Oh no, it's not man of the match time yet. We can't be doing that.
It's not man of the match. It's a shout out. It's a special mention.
No, we don't do them.
We're talking about the way that we played yesterday and how we really sort of played to our strengths. However, you do need to mention what, and Haley Tatlock has also mentioned Coleman played well. For me, Coleman's performance yesterday was kind of vital in terms of the timings, because whilst it was a really emphatic 3-goal win, it could have been different. There was a period of 15 minutes in that second half where we were a little bit under the cosh. It's inevitable, but he was excellent. He really was. His positional play, I mean, it's shocking. Let's be realistic. I think he's on casters. He just rolls out into positions that you just went, what are you doing there? But he was excellent yesterday at crucial times of the game. I think it's a really good point, and I think he deserves plaudits because he's been getting better and better. So,
I totally agree, Chris. One thing I did notice actually with Coleman yesterday, it wasn't just his shot stopping. Obviously, he made a few vital saves, but his distribution was actually pretty decent as well. Both short and long, like I mentioned before.
Ever since he's come in after the Barnsley game, when Baxter was injured, fans have been getting on his back. As soon as he receives the ball, fans have been getting on his back, urging him to do this, urging him to do that, play it out quicker, play it to whoever, play it to the wing backs or whatever. Yesterday was the first time since he's stepped in that they didn't, and they actually gave him a little bit of respect to say, actually, yeah, his distribution is of a good quality, and let him decide where he's going to put it, who he's going to play it to, and when. No, I think you bang on. His distribution was excellent yesterday, and fans are starting to see that he actually does know what he's doing to a certain degree when it comes to
yeah.
that. So.
Talking about post-match reactions, and obviously we're still on this segment, but I got to add to this. Reading, as good as they are going forward, they are quite easily one of the worst teams defensively. I've been at our place for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Awful defensively. Absolutely. 6s and 7s. All throughout the whole game. The distinct lack of organisation from them defensively was clear to see. And I think they've got Lincoln next. And obviously in the form that Lincoln are in, and that lad who was rumoured to be coming to us from Luton, he might have a field day on the weekend.
Yeah.
They were all over the place.
There was a podcast that I watched, or a vlog earlier that I watched from one of the Reading fans on my break at work. I hasten to add that he mentioned fatigue in their number 27. Is it Mbenge, who is an excellent centre half, but really suffering with fatigue at the moment? And they were saying that a lot of the Reading fans were commenting on how slow he was in comparison to his normal self, whether he's carrying a knock or whether he's just knackered, whatever it might be. He was, I think, visibly struggling.
I think what I would say is you got to give a lot of credit to Reading in terms of the fact that this could likely to stay in the league with a depleted squad, both on and off the field, and effectively playing with a lot of kids. And it was telling, in the most part, that there was a lot of naivety from a defensive perspective throughout the whole game. I mean, it's not taking anything away from us. I thought we were excellent.
No,
in terms of our build up, like I said, both usual stuff in terms of our build up play on the floor, but also going long. But I think Ian's made a good point. Like, how did Bodvarsson have about 10 yards for both goals, both inside the 6-yard box? Yeah, exactly. I mean, granted, the last one was obviously the 5th, but still, I mean, they were woeful defensively.
Certainly not one of the most well-organised teams that we've seen at the University of Bolton Stadium. I think that's for certain.
The what?
However,
the what?
Benjamin?
The
what?
The what?
The University.
That was a stinker, weren't it? That was a stinker.
Oh, that is a howler. Good Lord. Right. Right. Okay.
Tough sheep. They got that one wrong.
Indeed. Right. One-word reviews. I'm going to put the ones up that have come through the chat. But Chris, can we have your one-word review, please?
Uniball. No, I'm joking. Come back to me.
Ange, can we have yours?
I wish you warned us when you're going to do this.
That's what I said. Come
on, it's regular part of the episodes now.
I'll go with stunning.
Stunning. Colin?
Desire. I use the word desire because obviously we were 1-0 up and then they clawed it back. And I thought the desire to go on and put them to the sword was great to see. So yeah, that's the word I'd use, desire.
Ooh, I like the we lose.
Renewed.
Yeah, I like that.
I like David's, but oh dear. Sorry, I was going to say I like David's, but you best not put it up.
Boom, boom.
I think my one-word review would be necessary.
Nice. I like it.
Fantastic.
Leslie uses that a lot. I've seen that a few times.
I love it. Love it.
Mine would be technically 2 words, but turning point with a little question mark on the end.
One.
It's a one-word review.
One, Benjamin.
You had all this time to think about it. You knew you were going to do this as well.
What did you say? Turning point.
Yes, with a question mark.
Is it hyphenated? I don't know.
You could change that to pivotal then, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Get your
We'll
thesaurus
go with
out.
that then. Yep. Need me thesaurus. Anyway, Ange, do you want to have a go?
Right, best get my readers on.
It should be a bit of
So,
it, shouldn't it really? Be a thought.
so yeah, in what could be quite possibly the biggest U-turn in man of the match Fanzone history. Well, not history, but we do it quite often. We've gone from famine to feast again, I would say.
Yeah.
So stick your man of the match in the chat if you'd like to elaborate on as to why they are your man of the match. Feel free. And as normal, we'll go around the panel and see what everybody thinks. For me, there's about 5.
Sorry, can I just say something? How can we? I'm just picking up on what you just said, then, Ange. You're right in a sense that we drew 0-0 with a good Stevenage side and we didn't beat Derby. But how can we go from famine to feast when our back-to-back home games we scored 10 goals?
Famine from Friday.
Score at Stevenage.
From Friday, not speaking in general.
No, we ain't speaking in bloody general. From
Right,
Friday to today, in the match.
Right, fair enough. I just want to make the point. That's all, because I see a lot of it, like people commenting saying, you know, oh, we're terrible, we're this, we're that, we're the other. When we, in reality, when you look at it, like I said, we just scored 10 goals in 2 home games. So I think we're doing pretty well, to be fair.
Yeah, we were crap at Stevenage though.
Not that deep, college. Just the man of the match for yesterday.
Right, who's going first?
So for me, there's about 5, and I'll talk to you through mine at the end. But let's start with, while he's on one, Colin.
I'm not on one. I'm not on one. I'm just.
Colin's daily run.
Exactly what Channel 72, AK.
I know. I'm on telly now. Hang on, we got a guest.
Person. Hello.
I got a little person. Who was your man of the match, Ivy? Say Aaron Collins. Alan Collins. There you go. Right, we got a dog now.
This is what happens when you do things
live.
Live
tonight. I tell you, whenever we don't do a podcast at our normal time on a normal day, everything just goes out at window.
So it's all about
scheduling. It'll be Reed. Come on, let's have it, Colin.
Yeah, my man of the match is quite obvious. It's Mr. Collins, but obviously, like we said already, special mention needs to go to the goalkeeper because I thought he was excellent. Also, Josh Dekus-Cogley deserves a mention. I thought he was phenomenal at fullback. He was involved pretty much throughout. Obviously, he played the ball to win the penalty, which was an excellent pass, may I add. He was involved in the whole game, really, on that right-hand side. And I think he's a player that's come to a little bit of stick recently, so I think he deserves a little bit of a bit of a special mention. But yeah, Aaron Collins, it's a bit of a no-brainer. He scored a hat-trick on it, and I think, when was the last time a Bolton player scored a hat-trick at the Reebok? Was that? Who was it?
Vic scored one beginning of the season, didn't he?
That was it, yeah. Vic, yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. I think we've gone about 20 odd years waiting for somebody to score a hat-trick.
I think we've had 3, have we not, this season?
About 3.
Yeah.
Since Freddie Bobic.
Yeah. Then, Ipswich. Oh, what a day that
against
was.
Ipswich. Yeah, that was a great day on loan from Borussia Dortmund. And yeah, we've got 3 in this season, so it's good to see. Not bad for a team who are struggling, eh?
Fabulous. So Aaron Collins had 1. Let's go to Chris next.
I just thought I'd put that in there.
Yeah.
Because this is the level of the podcast, you see. This is the kind of clientele that we attract.
Welcome, Mr. McGorman.
Good evening. It weren't Paris.
For once.
Although he was very good. If we could talk about his defensive work, please, Edo, because it needs some work. Let's be real about it. So, but yeah, no, I loved his performance yesterday. I love watching him, as you know, and people will acknowledge, I always mention it, but Aaron Collins was man of the match by an absolute country mile yesterday. Absolutely hats off to him. So that is what's that now? 6 goals, 2 assists. And you've got to say that 2 of those goals are pretty much both goal of the season contenders. And for somebody who is not one of our big cannons, I think he's going that. Aaron Collins.
Is that you, Chris? You done?
Yeah.
Thank you. Benji, who are you having?
I'm not going to make any more mistakes this evening, so my man of the match is Aaron Collins. Back to you, Ange.
Is that it? So in the chat, we've got a couple of shouts. We've got quite a lot for Aaron Collins, obviously. We've got a couple for Jon Danny Bob Varson, a couple for Josh Stackers-Cogley. I also thought that Paris had a really good game, and I thought Georgie T in that midfield was superb yesterday. I thought he played really, really well. But obviously, you cannot score a hat-trick and not get a man of the match. So I think it's a clean sweep for the first time in a while, I think, that we've all gone with.
Yeah.
With it,
Just on Clint, as well as he's played, especially the last 2 home games, I think one of the reasons why he's playing so well is because of his strike partner. I think he and Jon have got that
really good together.
Quoi, shall we
Yeah,
say?
really good
in terms
together.
of strike partnership. Yeah, the very, very, very good technical footballers you can see.
Yeah.
And I think Jon is helping. He's helping Collins significantly in game, both in and out of possession. When we've got the ball and when we've not. Sorry. So yeah, I think Jon deserves a special nod. I mean,
definitely
got 2 goals as well, didn't he? You know what I mean? He's not exactly on a bad game.
He wasn't too shabby. Not too shabby for Jon either.
Exactly.
So yeah, Fanzone man of the match for the game yesterday is Aaron Collins.
Well done, Aaron.
Ben will be delivering a little nice thumbnail your way soon, I would imagine.
He's a lucky boy.
He's a lucky boy.
Sure that's the highlight of the Players Week, working for the Fanzone man of the match. But it is now time
I think so.
My favourite segments. Get Stat on as we hand over to our resident stat man, Callum, for his preview of our next game.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Statman preview of the Fanzone podcast. Next game, well, Reading, what a game. I mean, 5-2, fair play. I was very enjoying that as a neutral. Cracking game, I'm sure you loved it as Bolton fans. But anyway, next game, Bristol, big game. Of course, every game is a big game at this point in the season, but this is return to his previous club for Aaron Collins, the hat-trick man. I'm sure he's at good form at the right time. I hope I've got that right. Anyway, if I'm not, I'm a mug. Yeah, but Bristol, they don't look great at the minute anyway. Or let's hope I don't jinx that for you lot. But yeah, they've won 0 of the last 5 games. And they've not even scored a goal in the last 5 games. I mean, come on. What's the point in turning up? Again, hopefully I'm not... If I'm jinxed it, again, my apologies. My deepest apologies. But yeah, no goals in the last 5. I mean, that is awful. In general, though, the 15th for goals per 90 with 1.2, so they can see there's been quite a big drop-off there, because they were usually guaranteed a goal a game, but not anymore. Interestingly, as well, the man returning to his former club, if I've got that right, hopefully I have, Aaron Collins is 3rd for big chances created in League One this season with 15. I mean, I wouldn't think that anyway, watching him, but yeah, not just a bags man. But anyway, yeah. So, look, going back to Bristol's goals, just 45 XG in 48 goals. I've written that wrong. But yeah, 45 XG and they've scored 48. That is not the best. Yeah, it's not very good. Clearly missing Collins. I really hope I've got that right, because if I'm not, I look like a proper idiot. But yeah, so also the 19th for goals conceded per game with 1.5. Again, that's pretty poor. They do quite like the ball with about 54%. Should have written it down, I didn't, my bad. Yeah, which is like 5th in the league, something like that. But again, it's Bolton. What do I say every time? You're going to dominate the ball. Definitely. I mean, there's no real doubt about that. They also love a long ball, do Bristol. So the counter-attack is going to be key, as it is always in a Bolton game. Yeah, they actually hit 29 per game. I mean, that seems like loads to me. But yeah, it's only 6th in the league. The 4th for direct attacks as well. So, but they do like to play out as well. They are quite varying in their attacks, which is a bit weird because they haven't. I can't see why they haven't scored just from looking at the stats. I mean, I'd have to actually watch a game, which I mean I will do on Saturday, of course. Yeah, maybe it's just they can't hit barn door. It was the graph for today's episode. As you can see, there is a lot of space in between the two fullbacks. Yeah, I mean, I've not got the graph next to me, but I'm pretty sure it's the number 30, the left back and the right back, and number 5 is the other one. Yeah, the space in between them and the centre backs is huge. Yeah, and if you hit them on the break, it's basically a 2 versus 2 because you've got 2 strikers and then however many you get coming from midfield. There is a lot of space to get to and can be utilised. Their biggest threat is probably Anthony Evans from midfield. He's basically the best in the league for chances created, so a high praise. But yeah, from the numbers alone, I've not actually seen him. He looks like a very good player. But anyway, enjoy the rest of the podcast and enjoy the game on Saturday.
We hasten to add that washing in the background were not our Statman's undies, and they were in fact a hoodie. But thank you, as always, from our wonderful Statman, Callum. If you want to check him out on Twitter, it's at WanderingRed7. Yeah, he's done some written pieces on our website if you want to go and check those out. Fantastic football knowledge. But Bristol Rovers, it's going to be don't think it's going to be an easy game, but a team that hasn't scored in 5 games. It's
No.
Go on, someone say it.
An unbelievable opportunity for the Wanderers. Colin, would you agree?
Someone in the yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's a good opportunity, this, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, they're playing for nothing, aren't they now? Really, and they are kind of struggling for goals. And I think if we can keep it tight, like Callum alluded to, there's going to be a lot of space in behind. I think that may mean that we're maybe a little bit more direct again, like we were yesterday, possibly, to try and get in behind them and kind of utilise that space from the fullbacks, like Callum was explaining. So, yeah, it should be a good game. I'm just trying to think about who should or who's likely to play in that type of game, given what he's saying about the fullbacks and the defenders being so much space. I think it might be a game for Carl Dempsey potentially. Obviously came on and looked pretty lively, didn't he, the other day? Possibly a game for Carl Dempsey. So that could be one of the changes that you were asking about before, Ben. But yeah, massive opportunity. I think we'll go there and win. And I also think we'll beat Portsmouth the week after. So let's see what happens tonight.
Cool, blimey. In terms of that space in behind, you're looking at players like Randall Williams, who is
fit in here.
Electric quick.
Gorgeous.
Is he?
Beautiful man.
Is he back in contention for the game?
Well, he was on the bench.
Was he on the bench yesterday? I missed the team.
Yeah, warming up, looking absolutely good as gold. So
possibly some room for him as well. Collins, I think we saw against Reading how good he can operate in the channels and the space he can find himself in. So, Chris, what are you expecting from Bristol Rovers? What are you expecting from the game?
You nearly said Bristol then, didn't you? Yeah. You nearly said Bristol.
Colin would have had you with the...
I did not.
Rovers.
Bristol
Rovers. I'm telling you.
So, yeah, just to be clear, there are 2 Bristols. Lovely pair of Bristols. So, yeah, just so you know, Callum did say Bristol. And he didn't mean it. He meant Bristol Rovers. So
didn't mean it didn't happen, Chris. Because he didn't mean it.
Yeah, well, we can forgive him.
Of course we can. His analysis is excellent. as Chris mentioned, he often uses it in arguments. And I think we all do. So that says it all for Callum, really, doesn't it? What do I expect? You know what? I'd like to expect what we did yesterday, but I don't think we'll get that. I think
Not pitch, is it?
Well,
You know, we like our
I'll have my ruler at pitch side.
I'll do a second turn.
Oh, Grimesman, get over here. Get it cut.
Do you carry a ruler about with you, Chris?
There's a joke in there somewhere about measurement, but I'm not going to go there with it. No, I don't. Typically, Colin, no. I think that we will get a 1 or 2-0 win. And I think it will be efficient, business-like, job done. I don't think it will be erotic football like we saw yesterday at times. So as long as we get the job done with 3 home games to follow after that, then I'll be happy with that.
Fantastic. The pod has gone very carry on, actually, Neil. Thank you for that. There's a lot of innuendo coming from you today, Mr. Dawson.
It's the eroticism of yesterday.
And so, if we don't have a podcast on a Wednesday, post-match podcast on a Wednesday or a Sunday at 7:30 p.m., everything just goes out the window and it's just a free-for-all.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I bother setting up like fancy titles and thumbnails. I may as well just leave it all blank and just
crack on.
As Big Malcolm says, and quite rightly, Bristol Rovers have a big one.
Chris.
You do have a big pitch. If you remember last season's game, where we obviously memorable for a number of reasons, Dan Lunderloo's fantastic finish, George Thomason's bottom.
Liz rent-free in your head, that, doesn't it?
Oh, God. Whoa. But it is, you're quite right, Malky, it is a really wide pitch, and that suits us. Very, very similar with Peterborough as well. So
we sorry to interrupt, Chris. We have actually won our last 3 games at the Memorial Stadium. So I know this time of the year, kind of that type of thing. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know how relevant it is anyway, in fairness, but we have won the last 3 games at the place with a big pitch. So positive.
Chris, just out of curiosity, if George Thomason ever arrived on the podcast, would you ever be able to shake that image of his bottom from your head whilst we were sat chatting to him?
I told you, it looks like that. It glowed. It was the whitest. It was the whitest thing I've ever seen. It was like. Yeah,
Can we move on from poor Georgie's derriere?
I wonder if he's bought himself a fake, not fake tan, a tanning booth at home or something like that. He's got one installed.
Just for his bum.
Just for his bum.
Yeah. Just in case he gets derobed again.
Yeah, let's move on. Sorry.
Right. Well, I say we're going to move on, but I think we're going to hand over to Chris now for his own section. So God help us all.
Quite sparse. It tends to be the case when we do well.
Shocking.
I am shooketh.
Yeah. El surprise.
Social media quiet when we win.
It does though, doesn't it? It does. But hey, we're only human. So we'll lead off tonight with Leslie. Leslie Davis asks, even if Dion is back, and when I've written it down, I've put if in massive letters. Even if Dion is back this weekend, do we all think that Collins and Yon Daddy Budvarsson should remain as forward line, top 2? they really. I mean, yesterday the harmony between the two of them was clear to see. They were bouncing off each other. It looks a really formidable partnership. Would it be a shame, just because it's Dion, to bring him back in? Yes or no?
It wasn't just yesterday though, Chris, was it, mate? It was against
No.
Oxford as well. They were great against Oxford, obviously.
Exactly.
And even at Derby, to be fair to them, especially I thought Jon played excellent at Derby.
Just clarify, just 1 minute, Carl. Just clarify the question you're actually asking there. Sorry, I've forgotten. Are you asking if we keep the same strike force we had yesterday?
The question is, does Dion go straight? Question is, does Dion go straight into the team, or do we keep Collins and Bodvarsson as our front two?
Yes or no in the chat, people?
Yeah, yes or no in the chat. Yeah, I think
yes for Dion or no.
I think if yesterday hadn't have occurred, where they got 5 goals between them, then people might have an argument, because obviously they've gone 2 games without scoring. If that hadn't happened yesterday, but I think considering they both scored 3 and 2 respectively, then you shouldn't really break a strike partnership up like that. As good and as important as Dion is, plus, and let's be honest, I think they should have enough anyway, really, with all due respect to Bristol Rovers, between the Dion and Collins. So having Dion, having Dion coming off the bench is a great asset, really, to have in it. So I wouldn't break it up personally, but I'd understand why people would say yeah.
We're getting I was going to say we're getting a lot of similar feedback in the chat, but we're not. It's so mixed that it's literally yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Banging Dion straight in would be a huge insult, says David Jones.
I agree with that, to be fair.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think it's really easy to, from an outsider looking in, to say Dion, he's our top scorer, blah 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 blah, he goes straight back into the team because of X, Y, and Z. But there's so many external factors to that. It depends where his fitness is at. It depends how much of a risk he is of aggravating his injury. It depends, how close to that red line he is. Depends how he's trained. There's so much that you have to consider before making that decision. I think from the outside, it's easy to say, yes, he should, and if he isn't, then I'm going to go on Twitter and I'm going to write a silly little message. And if he is, and he plays rubbish, then what an idiot he never is. But there's so many different things you've got to consider.
Sorry, Ben, you are absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more. But another thing we'd have to consider as well, and it's a slightly different question, but who would Dion's strike partner be?
Would it be Jon Daddy or would it be Aaron Collins?
Exactly. It's obviously breaking up that two that work well together, putting Dion with X, but who is X? Because before he got injured, obviously Vic were playing, weren't he? And he was Dion's strike partner and a very good one at that. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. It really will.
It's a nice dilemma to have if it is true.
If he's
if he's back.
Yeah,
rumors.
Yeah, that's it. But it's not a rumor. It's actually straight from.
Yeah, but with all due respect to Ian.
Yeah, he's actually saying now we've got a clearer timeline in terms of the return of Dion and Nathan Baxter. But no, you're quite right. Let's be bloody,
But with due respect to Ian Ever, he said he was going to be back for the Wigan game, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, we got to take that with a bit of a pinch of salt, don't we?
Do you not think as well you've got to take into consideration Jon played a full 90? Would he have left him on for a full 90 if he was thinking of playing him again this Saturday?
Very good point. Very good point.
How many times this season have you gone from one game into the next saying, "Oh, he definitely can't do this," and guess what?
He does it. He does it.
Cast your mind back to Stevenage on Friday. Will Forrester came back into the fold after, fans calling out for him to be playing because look, let's face it, lad's done no wrong since he's since he's pulled on a Bolton shirt. And what happens yesterday? He doesn't start. But there's been an explanation today from Ian Evatt to say, look, he's been out with a hamstring injury for a while. 2 games in quick succession. I want to make sure that we keep him fit. So therefore, we'll bring Jack Iredale into the frame.
It does make me laugh. Like, why do we need explanations as to why the players aren't playing?
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
You know what I mean? Why do we need to question what he's saying to our players? I.e., I'm looking at a lot of water pistols. He knows how to get the best out of his players. He signed the players.
I'm looking at water bombs.
You know what I mean? Why is everybody questioning everything? I just don't get it.
In reference to your original question, I'll just answer really quickly because I'm aware that everyone probably wants to watch Derby Pompey. I would keep the same 2 and bring Dion on possibly at half-time, early sub.
Yeah. Spot on, Ange. Put you in charge.
It is.
I can do it.
Somebody mentioned
we blew
further up the thread about the potential of bringing Dion Charles on as opposed to having to bring on Cameron Jerome. No disrespect to Cameron because he's done a wonderful job in the absence of pretty much 60% of our strike force. What are you laughing at, Ben?
Just in the absence of everyone.
No, yeah. I thought you'd seen something that had tickled you. I did see that someone referred to Dion as a stroker earlier. Obviously, a clear typo, and he's a striker. I think it made me laugh.
He might be a stroker for all we know.
But I think just going back to your point there, Colin, about why do we question it? As fans, I suppose we do, and it's just our nature. But you're right. The guy knows what he's talking about. Exactly. So I was talking to Keith Hill yesterday.
Ooh.
Drop that into
chopping onions with Keith.
It was in the first sentence that I spoke to him, Ange. I actually made reference to the onions comment. Sam said, "You won't." I did. I went there. So I compared the water pistol comment to his comment about onions because obviously that caused uproar.
Yeah.
I just did that yesterday. I mean, we were looking at it in the media suite, and it was up to about 166,000 views or engagements.
Fair play to BBC, like fair play to them.
The guy knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? And it's madness. It's madness. But what he said was, and it's quite right that you're only human. You respond with emotion. And you will say things which you will later regret. And he's done that. He can speak from experience. And I'm just finding it really interesting talking to somebody like him who let's face it, has put his foot in it as a Bolton manager when the comment that Ian Evatt made yesterday was so sort of fresh across social media. It was a really interesting conversation and good insight from somebody who's actually walked the walk.
That's a very good point in it, like that they are human and they say things on emotion and do things on emotion as well. I mean, let's look at, obviously I know
we all do.
But what I was going to say is look at Guardiola at the weekend with Jack Grealish. Like, obviously that's over the news how he acted or supposedly acted in the wrong way with Jack Grealish on the pitch. I mean, who are we and who are the sports media to judge what Pep does with his players, and who are we to judge what Ian Evatt does and says to his players? They all know how to get the best out of the men that they've got in their changing rooms, and that's as simple as that. And I think it's the world we're living in it really as well. That's half the problem.
If I'm not sure, obviously as a manager, when you've got a player who you recently spent a load of money on bangs a hat trick in, you're going to go up to him and you're going to. You're going to give him a hug. You're going to say, "Well done," blah blah blah. But you saw it yesterday. There was a conversation between the two of them yesterday at full time, and he's obviously said something. Look, I'm going to approach it this way, or I've said this, whatever it might be. But we're not privy to those conversations. We're just privy to the headlines. So
He's probably said you've been upgraded from a super soaker to a cannon. Congratulations.
Yeah. It was. I mean, the result proved whatever he did was right. So.
Hate to say I told you so, Chris.
Yeah, I know.
But you will.
You don't know.
But I
You
will.
don't hate it at all. You don't hate it.
You got to put a bit of context to that, though, Chris. Like, I got a bit of context to it, Anna. Like, what I was leading to for the people watching.
It's a football match to watch. Let's go, people.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
So moving quickly on, Tomo 87, and this is something that Cole mentioned earlier, and I agree with as well. On Saturday, thinking about rotation, is it a game for Dempsey, which Cole called before? I agree with that. Maybe give Paris a bit of a rest, and then, like we were talking about Dion having the luxury of being able to bring him on, being able to bring on a player like Paris with 30 minutes to go. I mean, they won't know what's hit them, So I think that one is definitely something to throw in the mix. What do we all think about that? So Dempsey in for Paris to come in last 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think not only for the reasons that I mentioned before with Callum's analysis, but I also think looking ahead to the Portsmouth game, I think having Paris having a bit of a rest going into playing them lot, he could really damage them.
Yeah,
because he proved how much that Moxon fella couldn't get near him. I know he played for Carlisle at the time, but he couldn't get rid of couldn't get anywhere near him when we played him at Carlisle, could he? So
no.
So yeah,
it's another comparison. If you cast your mind back to Oakwell.
What another beautiful scenario to try and
It is. These are the things that you miss. Is when you hindered and hampered with so many injuries, and the thought of having that potential, you've got to get excited about that. So I think it's a great show, that Tomo, to bring in Dempsey. He looked sharp yesterday when he came on. He should have made it 6 without a shadow of a doubt.
He should have scored 2. He should have scored 2.
Yeah, but he's. This is interesting, actually. Sorry, and I know we're trying to cut it short, but Tim.
Oh no! I forgot about that.
Yeah, well.
What's happening with Josh as well?
Well, there's the other thing as well. Bearing in mind that it's a 6-hour round trip.
You might not take him.
Ms. Bodvarsson and Ms. Sheehan are both close to going into labour. Could cause a problem.
I actually mentioned this to Ms. Sheehan the other week, actually, and I said to her that, is it not a helicopter you could borrow of Auntie Sharon's? And she said she's looking into it. So Josh might be available to jump on a helicopter to get back to them. So
we can't not take
Josh. In all fairness, I mean, if you look at Bristol Rovers' last 5 games, and they are no disrespect, but pretty gash. I mean, any team that
we're not that podcast, Ben.
Say that. I was going to make a joke about
bleep
lending Mrs. Sheehan my chopper.
You've had a murder tonight, Ben.
Hey, mine's not as bad as what he's just come out with.
Well, but yes, let's remove Ben. Let's remove Ben from the stage, and let's remove Chris from the stage.
I'm in the wrong place now. It makes me all.
Point being, any team that can't score against Fleetwood and can't score against Shrewsbury and can't score against Port Vale is a perfect opportunity for some of our lads to come in and figure out, drop Morley in for Sheehan and give him that little bit of playing time that he needs. Possibly look at Zach Ashworth or Randall Williams and give some other lads a run out. Because Portsmouth is coming up and we're going to need everyone firing on all systems, all cylinders. It's
that's good. Thanks, Mark. That'll do.
Oh,
was Mark working at NHS Bolton? Maybe.
Yeah. So Mark has just informed us that Ms. Sheehan, Eleanor, the lovely Eleanor, is being induced in the next 24 hours. So if that's the case, and that's
one day,
hurry up. No, I was going to say good luck on the birth of your second child to the Sheehans. And obviously the same goes to the Budvarsons also.
Right, it's 54.
Right.
Are we done?
Let's wrap it up. Have a good evening, everybody.
And we'll
Well,
close
just
the
before we
segment.
do,
Hang on, I'm
just before
closing
we
the
do.
segment
Oh, he's closing the segment.
because the comment is from, obviously, a fan of the show, as we found out this evening, Ido Magoma. And basically, it's a comment more than anything that that now is all about unity. He thinks that Derby will get a maximum of 8 points, which will take them to 89. And we need to therefore get to 90, which means that we need another 12 points from our remaining 5 games, which is more than achievable. But we can get to 90. We all pull in the same direction. So hopefully yesterday's positive result can get us in the right mindset and we can go and do that. And he said that he thought Aaron Collins was top. So there you go. I'll close the segment on that. Thank you.
Tell you
Ian.
what else was top? Bolton fans
Fantastic.
in the side stand.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good.
And just before we finish this evening's episode, we will head over into our sponsor shout out. So, of course, we keep harping on about them, but that's because they are fantastic. So, Eco One Windows, who are up this way, shout out to them, our headline sponsor for the 2023-24 season. If you want to find out any more about any of our lovely sponsors along the top of the screen here, then you can do exactly that by heading over to our website, www.thefanzonepod.co.uk. Find out everything you need to know over on the website. But on that note, we will say goodbye, go and enjoy the Portsmouth Derby game, and we'll hopefully catch you with another 3 Point podcast very, very soon.
Play
Until
up
then,
Pompey.
take care.
Play up Pompey.
What he said. Until then,
It's all right.
take care, and we'll see you in the next one.